Let's see what the tabloids have for us today. Now, we all probably know Mikel Arteta, whether you believe in the guy or don't believe in the guy, unless he falls out of Europe and there's a massive collapse on Arsenal season, regardless of the talking points or how we might feel about the sentiment of the club, he's not going to leave. I mean, the man got given a 3-year deal before a ball was really kicked this season. Nonetheless, probably owing to, the backdrop of can Arsenal get over the line and win major trophies, we've been linked with Simeone Inzaghi, in which if Mikel Arteta did leave, him and Gasperini, they would be on my shortlist. The dream would be Jabi Alonso, but that's a myth. This article has said Inzaghi possible Arteta successor, apologies, as Inter coach receives Arsenal message. I mean, he has won a league title, so that would be a spring in his step. According to reports in Italy, people, Arsenal see Simeone Inzaghi as a potential successor to Mikel Arteta and have already informed the Italian tactician's entourage of their appreciation. Inter coach Inzaghi has emerged as a candidate to replace Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. According to the latest report from Tuttosport, the Gunners have already informed the coach's entourage that they've been following and appreciating his work at the Stadio Mesea. Now, I think this is nonsense. I'll be real with you because realistically, Mikel Arteta is getting greater and greater influence at Arsenal. Obviously, you've seen Edu go. You've got Jason Ito. I don't think he's going to hold more clout. You can see what the Cronkies are doing across many sports with the young coaches and growing. Obviously, he's getting them Champions League football. They've handed him a new deal, which is a vote of confidence. And we're not a team that's going to say, Mikel Arteta gets to the semi-finals of the League Cup, potentially wins the FA Cup, or does his thing in that respectful account of ourselves in the Champions League. We finish in the top three, or we do what we do in the Prem, and then he's moved on. Nor do I think on the best case scenario, I'll say the best case for Arsenal, because we'd like to win trophies. We win a Prem, a Champs, an FA Cup, and he still goes. They've just given him a 3-year deal. Are they going to pay out his contract, his compensation package? He's definitely one of the highest earners at this football club, especially as we're back in the Champions League, and they've committed so much to him, rightly or wrongly. I think this is nonsense. And I also would imagine at some point, I could be wrong, but the first thing I thought when I'm reading this, people, is how long has Inzaghi got in his Inter Milan contract, and is he angling to leave Inter? Is there rumblings in that, which is typically the case when you see this, people? There you have it. Inzaghi is just one trophy away from becoming Inter's most successful coach, which would be great to have those connotations around Arsenal. His contract with the Serie A giants expires in June 2026, so that's a year from now. They obviously want to commit his future. That's probably where this article comes from. Tuttosport adds that Arsenal are not planning to part ways with Arteta before the end of his contract in 2027. But if European giants Man City and Real Madrid approach the Spanish coach in the summer, Inzaghi would be a credible candidate to replace him at the Emirates Stadium. So this article has said a lot, but had said nothing. Manchester City have confirmed the future of Pep Guardiola unless he walks away. That's a myth. Carlo Ancelotti, his fellow Italian, could in theory leave Real Madrid, but it seems like they're angling for Xabi Alonso. So I'm not too sure. Let me know your thoughts on what you make of that. Dan Ashworth suffers second blow after brutal Man United sacking. Apparently, Dan Ashworth's hopes of becoming Arsenal's new sporting director appear to have been dashed after it emerged that Jason Ito is the front runner for the role. I would have loved Luis Campos, would have loved Delaby. I think we need a more experienced sporting director, like kind of mimicking the Arsene Wenger, David Dean model. But that guy, even if they did, they're going to have to be given permission to challenge Mikel Arteta, because you look at a number of our signings, it seems that we weren't all universally in favour. Mikel Arteta got his way, which shows his influence. Now, Jason Ito, the first reports you saw was Arsenal was concerned about his lack of experience. Simultaneously, we've been linked with Luis Campos, Alabi, this one, that one, and the third. Did these more experienced sporting directors want to leave their jobs mid-season? Or has Jason Ito really impressed internally, which is the latest reports? Now, I'm just an ignorant football fan, but how could he have impressed? Yeah, he can impress with his work ethic, how he's going about stuff, things that if we was a fly on the wall at London Coley, we'd be privy to, right? But to an ignorant fan, not seen any key players brought in, not seen any key players contracts signed, not seen anything really to say, are you growing in influence? I just think it's more yes men and more people that are growing on the job, really. But yeah, Dan Ashworth was someone that was linked. He did previously work with managing director Richard Garlick at West Brom, and apparently they've got a close relationship. However, that doesn't mean mean anything because he apparently won't be joining Arsenal. We're still linked with Mbeumo. We know we're not signing him in January, people. We'd all hope, and let me know your thoughts, if you, especially if you disagree. Mbeumo would be amazing, but you know, the Mbuemos, the Kuduses, the Nico Williams, the Lookmans, it's all the Cunhas. The theme is still the same in that it's not going to be easy to get these players. And you're seeing David Ornstein and, you know, people that are clearly somewhat in the know at the football club briefing us that, you know, it could be a potentially quiet January, probably will be. And all the big money additions are being linked with a move in the summer, which I'm not against with summer additions. Why not? But we're playing in the season now. We're trying to win something now. We're trying to salvage something now. Always feels like next season is the one for us where the penny just finally going to drop. We'd all love Mbeumo. He's contracted until 2026. You'd imagine Brentford do everything to keep him, at least to the summer at the very least. It's going to take big money. Arsenal are not going to do that, whether we have money or not. We know how the club operates. I hope to be wrong and surprised. You would have seen yesterday, Arsenal have contacted Manchester United regarding a January move for Marcus Rashford. Would you lot take him, people? It was probably predictable. We know he's got one foot out the door at Man United, been aggressively linked with AC Milan. These reports initially have actually come out of Italy. They say that it's a 25 million euros kind of fee that's required. As you can see in front of me, AC Milan appear to be the front runners, has been linked with Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, and West Ham. It seems Arsenal made a phone call to Manchester United for Rashford. The club value him at 25 million euros. So that's just around 20 odd. What sort of wages is Rashford going to be on? Especially in the summer, you'd imagine Jorginho, Partey, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, Tini's on 100 odd grand, Nelson's on 100 odd grand. The wages starts to look a bit more positive. Why would you mess that up with Marcus Rashford? Especially because Kai Havertz is one of the top earners. I'd imagine if you're Saliba, Saka, anyone that wants to get a renewal, you're looking at that. Someone in Nico Williams' case, the release clause is one thing, but he's on big cut money. And you'd imagine if we truly are going to sign these big money additions, they're going to come with wages to match. I don't want Marcus Rashford. I like him. Don't think he's the worst of player. Just think he's damaged goods. And I'm rooting for him. Who doesn't love an underdog story? It's just, why is it always us to save careers? We need to save careers and save the players that we've got already that are underperforming. Why add more to the batch? You know, with the exception of Bukayo Saka in the front three positions, they're all good players, but who do you truly rely on? Martinelli's got issues. Jesus has got issues. Sterling, to be fair, hasn't really been given an opportunity, but has got issues. Trossard hasn't been good this season. Why would you want to add Marcus Rashford? You know, Kai Havertz, I don't think he's the worst. I think he performs a lot more than these players, but he isn't the guy to get us over the line. And he's got his question marks of his own, and you don't really know if he's going to score goals regardless of the statistics. He's quite limited in that regards, even though he's doing his thing. I'm not dissing him. Why would you want to add Marcus Rashford to it, where there's more answers, there's more questions, apologies, than answers? Maybe you don't disagree. Let me know your thoughts, and don't forget to smash the like button, people. We all know we're not going for Gyökeres, but nonetheless, Arsenal have been given some good news over there of prospects of landing Victor Gyökeres in the summer, but this has been offset by a less encouraging update. Okay, according to the record, which is an article, any club bidding for Gyökeres at that point may not need to match his release clause, which would have dropped to 80 million euros by that point. I think that means in the summer. In January, apparently you've got to pay his release clause. Okay, what does that mean though? I don't think Arsenal are really in for Gyökeres, if I'm honest with you. It looks like Jose Mourinho looks set to beat his former club Inter to the signing of Zinchenko. So Zinchenko's been linked with Galatasaray. Better yet, apologies, people. Shows I'm not watching Turkish football. Fenerbahce. I don't think Zini's going to go for that. I think Inter Milan's a good club, big club, respectfully. Fenerbahce is as well. I think that's more up Zinchenko's street. He is contracted until 2026, so a decision has to be made on him in the summer if it hasn't been made already. Obviously, his stock has fallen. Young Lewis Skelly is doing his thing. Timber is probably a better option at left back if you're defending for your lives. Tommy Asu's never fit, but him the same. And we've just got Calafiori. Now, the onus is surely on Arsenal needing to move on the likes of Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko than the players. Because what if they believe they still key players for Arsenal? They can still fight and return to starting regulars. Their family's comfortable and they're on big wages, especially in Gabriel Jesus' case. Fair enough, Zinchenko's hands might be tired, but Gabriel Jesus is under contract for a number of years. And we all know in the present day, whether it's right or wrong, Zinchenko might just want to run down his deal at Arsenal, become a free agent and do what he's doing, this time next year, a bit like what we're facing with Partey. So I don't know in that regards. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, and Newcastle are all interested in a move for Yeremay Hernandez, but he can only leave Deportivo La Coruña for his 20 million euro release clause. I mean, hopefully it'll be better than what was that guy we signed, man, from Deportivo? Was it Lucas Perez? Lucas Perez? I could be wrong and butchering his name. Now, from what I see online and whatnot, I know Yeremay Hernandez is a Spanish under 21s international. You know, you can see he's a modern day winger. He does do his defensive due diligence. He is good going forward. Hasn't really got eye-catching numbers, isn't really a level raiser, but if he's got scope to grow, rightly or wrongly, you would imagine, for me anyways, these were the kind of signings, if Arsenal are to make a signing, these are the kind of price tags and player caliber I thought we'd get in January, rightly or wrongly. Of course, once again, Lookman, Kudus, Cunha, Nico Williams, we're never going to get him, but Isaac, all of these household names, you know me, people. Smash the like button and subscribe if you don't. Would love them. But you know what? I don't think it's any excuse. If you can't get them, get this. Like, I'm not saying necessarily sign this guy, but sign this guy if you really believe in him and he can develop and whatnot. Because at the end of the day, everyone's got to start somewhere. In the summer, I'll be here with you lot, and I appreciate you lot support. We'll be linked and talking about and critiquing, and I'll be asking, would you sign this one and that one about names that are not household names at this moment in time. We've once again been linked with Wolves midfielder João Gomez. Apparently, he's subject to interest from Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United. We're just linked with everyone at Wolves. You know, some of us would have liked us to sign Caradonna. Charles Watts has poured cold water on that. At the moment, there's no suggestion that Arsenal are about to enter the conversation for Caradonna. I can't pronounce his name, forgive me. I've certainly not heard anything. Ben Jacobs has said, if Benjamin Sesko is available in the market again, Arsenal feel they're in a very strong position. If Isaac, the dream target, becomes unattainable, then there could be a situation where Arsenal turn to Sesko, but in the summer. So everything is in the summer. Ornstein has said, what Arsenal will be doing, like many other clubs, is looking for young players for the future, some of the best in Europe. Nepan, who plays for Rosenborg, Arsenal really like him. I'm sure others do as well. Ethan Nonwary is expected to return from his muscle injury before the end of January/early February. And rightly or wrongly, all it takes is for this club to hear that Saka is going to return slightly sooner rather than later. Ethan the same, and a bit more positive landscape about injuries. And we'll use that as an excuse to maybe not supplement the squad in January, which we should have done what we needed to do in the summer, but we're at where we're at. We got to remember, Arteta has said we have certain limitations and we have a lot of gaps and a lot of things to cover to become the team that we want, and then the availability of those players. Can you afford them? Even if you want to, it's sometimes not been possible. Obviously, there's PSR and FFP and all that kind of red tape, but then when we have shelled out money or significant sums, has these players always uplifted our club? I don't know, people. I'm leaving that with you. And where you look at it, you know, Arteta just focusing on the front three, his signings, it needs, if we're going to be a Premier League winning side, like, it's not good enough, is it? Really and truly, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. Thank the Lord you inherited at a point, Smith Rowe, at a point, Martinelli, 100% Bukayo Saka. Mel Sport has said Arsenal will listen to offers for Gabriel Jesus come the end of the season, while Zinchenko could go this month. Thomas Partey's 150k a week wage is also set to be removed when his contract expires in June. People, once again, we're not the only ones linked with Yeremay Hernandez. Brentford, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, in addition to Arsenal, Newcastle, and Manchester United, are all interested. Once again, the man has a 20 million euros release clause, which we see in the price tag kind of fluctuate according to the reports. Hato is a great player. 18 years of age, would love him at Arsenal. Think he could be a long-term option for us in defence. I know a defender wouldn't necessarily be the priority with you lot, but I think he's too good to turn down. Chelsea are being linked with him. Obviously, they've got a bit of injuries at centre-half at the moment. You know, we've got a good relationship with Ajax. Real Madrid missed out on Lenny Yoro. They seem like they want a star boy in defence. So Real Madrid have apparently been linked as well. Apparently, Real Madrid and Arsenal are set for disappointment in Hato Chase. Arsenal want Hato in order to strengthen their backline, and had previously considered signing him last summer, but instead plumped for Ricardo Calafiori. So, yeah, apparently, despite Ajax's preference for the player to remain in the Eredivisie, Hato seems ready to continue his career outside the Dutch top flight. It is what it is, man. Part ways with Kiwior, that opens up a spot, in my opinion. You know, again, we're linked with some reports actually saying Frankfurt want us to bid for Omar Marmoush, just why he's here, but it's whispers, in it, really. Looks like he's going to City. David Ornstein has said, Mikel Arteta loves Nico Williams. It's a long-term admiration. He would love to have signed him in the past, and he'd love to sign him in this transfer window. However, we all like things in life we can't have, and there's a good chance that he can't have Nico Williams because of the finances involved. He has a release clause that is active, that is just shy of 60 million euros, but it is to be paid in all one go, which is horrendous for any club who wants to sign him. He also earns a very good salary in Bilbao, which would need to rise if he's going to the Premier League. He's also not agitating for a transfer, which is why many transfers do come about because players push. He's not pushing. He seems extremely settled, and that makes it a remote possibility, but doesn't mean there's no interest in him. Hasn't really been eye-catching this season. I mean, regardless, I do think we could find the finances to do it, but if the player doesn't want to go, the player doesn't want to go. What I would say is, cool, you can't get Nico Williams, but you can't get someone else. You can't just have one target in mind. Obviously, if it was as great as he is, if it was Lionel Messi and Neymar and these 1 in a million players, which I'm not saying Nico Williams isn't, I'd understand it. And really, with the existing attacking options, there's not players that can't improve off of us of many levels or something that ties us over now. We need to act in the market for me. I don't know about you lot. Let me know your thoughts, but I think we're in a spot of bother.